Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're always gracious. And I've got another hearing at exactly the same time, and it's in the Visitor Center, so I'm running back and forth. So thank you so much for accommodating that schedule. And I also want to thank the chair. In his opening remarks, I thought you made a really thoughtful distinction that I want to reemphasize between universal remote working in a pandemic and a structured telework program. Those are two very different things, and I really appreciate the chairman making that distinction.
Yes, sir.
Not all of our colleagues do. And by the way, it's bipartisan. I mean, I heard the mayor of Washington conflate the two, bemoaning empty offices and empty, shops and restaurants.
Well, she looks at the results.
Yeah, but that's not caused by telework. We had robust telework before the pandemic, and those offices were not empty, and those shops were doing bustling business. And so we've got to separate the two. And I think our four witnesses today certainly did that in their opening remarks. And I just want to really emphasize what the chairman said in his opening remarks and add my own 2 cents to it. We need telework. We need telework for lots of reasons. For example, Doctor, would you say at NSF, as we look at the next generation of employees, is telework an expectation in the work offering when we go to make a job offer?
Yes, it is.
Why?
Because we are in a different time now today. We have learned so many lessons over the past few years, and we are able to offer flexibilities to attract the best and brightest workforce, and they do expect those flexibilities.
Right. And so if we want to recruit and retain the next generation, and by the way, what's your estimate of, at NSF, for example, what percentage of your current workforce is eligible for retirement over the next several years?
I would have to get back to you on an exact percentage, but it is a high percentage.
Yeah, well, overall federal government is somewhere between a third and 40%. So we've got a huge wave of retirements coming, and how are we going to replace them? And we've got to be competitive. And somebody made some comment about the private sector. I spent 20 years in the private sector. Telework is a very vibrant tool in the private sector. They're way ahead of us in the public sector. And Accenture, AT&T, just to name a couple. I mean, there are plenty of companies that actively use telework and make it work for them in terms of productivity, morale, recruitment, and retention. There was also a comment, I think, from my friend from Alabama, Gerry Palmer, that there were reports of people using telework time for happy hour and pickleball and watching soap operas and washing the dog. Answer that.
Well,
I mean, my gosh, what are you doing?
We don't have evidence that that's the case. I think.
Oh, you don't have evidence. That would imply you've got a methodology for monitoring how people use telework. Is that true?
Well, we can see from our productivity. From the amount of vacation and other leave times that people are taking. Those numbers have not plummeted, and our productivity has risen. It doesn't square to me how you would get results like that.
But I'm trying to get at something a little different. Telework is a structured program, right? It's not an informal, well, if you feel like not coming in today, no problem, we'll call that telework. That's not telework. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So in a structured program, I thought I heard Mr. Gibbs say earlier, you've got to be qualified, it's got to be reviewed, it's got to be approved, but presumably you're also evaluated on productivity, on checking in, on being available, right? We monitor that to know you're doing your job. Otherwise, we're going to rescind that privilege. Is that correct, Mr. Gibbs?
100%. And the way we look at it is accomplishing the mission, making sure the work is sufficient to accomplish that mission. Right. The employees have to be trained. The supervisors have to be trained. There has to be an agreement in place that clearly lays out the roles and responsibilities of the individuals, and it's got to go to senior level to be approved.
Right. Yeah, otherwise rockets would be falling from the skies or never get up into the skies at all. So far, NASA seems to have a pretty good track record, as does NSF, as do the other agencies. I just want to end by saying it's really important, and again, I appreciate the chairman's distinction because it reflects a respect. 1 million federal employees continued working in person during the pandemic. I lost a number of wonderful people who succumbed to the COVID virus because they went to work without protection. There were no protocols, but they went to work. And I want to make sure we honor those people. And I want to make sure that as we pursue this subject and other subjects about federal performance, that we give due respect to the brave men and women who serve this country every day, in person or remotely. And we should take care in our language, as the chairman did in his opening remarks, not to disparage, even by implication, the overwhelming majority of public servants who care about their mission. I yield back, and I thank the chair.
Yes, sir. Distinguished gentleman yields back his time. Thank you very much.